Alright, I know what you're probably thinking. In defense of the Godfather Trilogy, I mean, can you even think of a trilogy that is revered with any more love? How many times have you heard someone say, The Godfather is the best movie of all time, or I think that The Godfather Part Two is the best in the series, or even though it's not that great, The Godfather 3 is still a pretty good movie, just not as good as the first two. And whenever I hear any of those, it reinforces my thought. Now this is a trilogy, a series of movies that should be viewed together. Yet most of the time when people discuss the trilogy, they only focus in on 1 or 2 movies at a time. Yet, this is a 3-part series, and in order to fully understand the development of these characters and the themes that are present in one movie, you really have to view them as a trilogy. Before we go any further, I will like to say that I will be discussing all 3 of these movies in their entirety, so if you have not seen the Godfather Trilogy, make sure you check it out before watching this video. Every scene in these movies centers around power, either the exchange or display of power. The opening scene of the first film serves to show how powerful Don Vito Corleone is, and the first line of the movie is,
I believe in America.
But Bonacera then says that America has failed him, and that he needs to go to the Godfather to seek revenge for his daughter. This ultimately shows that the Don is more powerful than the police system. We learn all of this without even seeing any action. In fact, we learn all of this before we even see the Godfather. But when you do see him, he doesn't look like the most intimidating person out there. But his power doesn't come from physical strength, but instead from the respect that he has garnered over the years. Even after he is shot and wounded, he still remains powerful, and he's able to pass his teachings and power onto his son Michael to continue his legacy. However, in The Godfather Part 2, we meet Vito as a child, before he has any power. In every scene we spend with him, we see him gaining power as he assassinates different mob bosses. In the first movie, he's at the very peak of his power. However, in the second, we get to see him gaining that power, which ultimately gives us more respect for him after we learn exactly what he has went through in order to get this. If you stop watching it at the first movie, you don't get to see the amount of dedication that Vito put into becoming the mob boss that he ended up being. And seeing the second movie can let you appreciate that even more. In addition, we see Michael strengthening the empire as he fights for the security of his family. What I love so much about the second movie is that we see Vito building up his empire, and then later we see Michael strengthening it. You see both things happening at once, which really lets you realize how powerful this family really is. In the third movie, we see Michael lose his grasp on the power. From the very opening, we learn that Michael is feeling bad about everything that he has done morally. Tom Hagen has died, he has lost custody of his children, and his crime empire is falling apart. Throughout the entire film, we watch as this once powerful crime family is slowly losing its strength as time goes on. The final nail in the coffin is when we see Michael get shot and Mary killed. The series of events is rather similar to when we see Vito shot in the first movie. However, in the first movie, the Godfather has enough strength and will to help pass his empire on to his son. However, Michael's not able to do the same, and because of this, the crime empire collapses. Seeing these similar events happen in one movie can make you appreciate it even more in the other movies. What I love so much about the Godfather Trilogy is how many different options you have to watch it. In something like the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the Fellowship of the Ring is the beginning, the Two Towers is the middle, and the Return of the King is the conclusion to the story. The film series tells one overarching story. But the Godfather Trilogy tells a handful of different stories that each movie it tells on their own, and when you combine them together, they tell even more. The first story is simply the first movie, and the biggest theme to it is watching a good man turn bad. The first movie is about seeing Michael slowly turn into a violent crime lord, and the effects that this has on the people around him and the people who he cares about the most. Obviously, the story works perfectly on its own. The Godfather ended up winning Best Picture at the Oscars and is almost always brought up in the best movies of all time category. But the story of The Godfather becomes even more interesting when you take into account the second film, in that we see the empire being built up and strengthened, as I already mentioned. And this story shifts its attention away from Michael and more so onto the family itself. The themes of the family and parallel storytelling are brought up as we see the evolution of the character. In addition, we also get to appreciate the first movie more as we see flashbacks of young Vito and his relationship with different characters, and especially with his first son, Sonny. Family is of course a huge part of The Godfather, and being able to see it in the second movie makes it easier to understand in the first and third movie. But the Godfather series is just that, a series, and the third movie is a very important part to that series. But before we go down this road, let's talk about why I wanted to make this video. And it's not to try and convince you that the third movie is a great movie, because it's not. It's an inherently flawed movie. I'm not going to try and say that Sofia Coppola's acting is good. It's not. It's terrible. The script was written quickly, important actors chose not to return, and all around the movie was quickly rushed together, which is a huge shame because there is nothing but potential for this film. However, the best thing that this movie did in my eye was continue the story. The second movie was able to show the creation of the crime empire, but the third was able to show its collapse, show the long-term effects of what Michael has been doing. In the first film, we saw Kay lose respect for Michael after he chose to become head of the mafia family. In the second, we saw her leave him, and in the final movie, we see the results of this split. The third movie is able to continue the story and is able to show it in a new light. No longer are we seeing what happens, but we are seeing how people react to that. In addition, when you watch the trilogy, you also get to see the evolution of characters. In The Godfather, when we first meet Michael, we learn that he is a really good guy. He rejects his father's ways.
That's my family, Kay. It's not me.
He served his country in World War II and is still loyal to his family. We begin to question him after we see how far his loyalty goes, but at the end of the first movie, we still have a care for this character. By the second movie, however, we can see that there is more to this character than we originally thought, as he's willing to kill his brother Fredo. This power has changed him, yet by the third movie, he begins to regret this. And part of what causes the fall of his empire is his compassion that he feels. This completes one of the biggest themes throughout the entire trilogy, and that is, in order to be a powerful leader of the family, you have to be heartless. This is first seen in the first movie, in the very opening scene, when we see how ruthless Vito Corleone is. He isn't doing Bonacera a favor, he is trying to help himself out later down the line. Next, Michael murders the thugs in cold blood, and throughout the entire series, we see people murdered to get ahead. This is a mob family that values only the lives of those around them, as long as the people around them stay true to the beliefs of the family. However, in The Godfather Part 3, we see the flip side of this, when Michael allows his personal life to take over what is best for the family, and this is how the collapse of the Corleone Empire began. Throughout the years, the Godfather Trilogy has taken many different forms. A complete edition which puts all three films into chronological order, different versions which have been heavily edited down, HBO's recent take on the first two films, or of course, the release order. But no matter which order you choose to watch the trilogy in, pay attention to how the story flows from one movie to another. The small changes that happen in one film have drastic impacts on the next. When you watch these films individually, you get one experience. But when you appreciate the entire series, you get a whole new one. Thank you so much for watching. It's so much fun to cover great movies like The Godfather, just because of how much content there is to discuss it. I don't really like the idea of covering the same movie twice, but in this case, I think I'm going to have to make an exception. It won't be happening anytime soon, but eventually I would love to take another look at some different element in the Godfather movie or series or something or other. What we will be discussing next is going to be The Revenant. There's a whole lot that movie has to offer in terms of insight on different small things that I'm going to be looking at next week. That video is going to be out on the right of the screen and out next Saturday. On the left of the screen is my last video, and we looked at the best movies of 2015. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.